Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest strength. Sometimes the shy ones who walk with their heads down have lived through storms we cannot imagine. And sometimes the one you mock might just be the one who changes everything. This is the story of a new girl who walked into a high school cafeteria, head lowered, heart trembling, carrying secrets no one could see. And when a bully decided to humiliate her with a cup of coffee, he had no idea he was about to awaken a storm he couldn't control. Stay with me until the end, because once you know her story, you'll never look at a quiet face the same way again. The school bell rang and the cafeteria buzzed with the restless energy of teenagers rushing to grab their seats. In the far corner, a new girl sat alone. Her name was Maya, a transfer student who had only been at Ridgewood High for a week. She moved with a kind of fragile silence, like someone who didn't want to be noticed. Her clothes were simple, her hair tied back neatly, and her gaze rarely lifted from the table. Some students whispered that she was shy. Others assumed she was weak. But what no one knew was that Maya had spent years in grueling training, breaking boards and mastering discipline in Taekwondo dojos since she was 6 years old. She had medals tucked away in an old drawer at home. But none of that mattered here. In this cafeteria, she was just the new girl, invisible until someone decided she shouldn't be. That someone was Tyler, the golden boy of the school. He wasn't the smartest student or the kindest, but he had something people seemed to admire: swagger. He wore confidence like armor, and when he walked, a pack of followers trailed behind him, laughing at his jokes even when they weren't funny. Tyler loved one thing more than anything else: attention. And to get it, he often found an easy target. On this day, Maya was that target. Tyler strolled through the cafeteria, cup of hot coffee in hand, smirking as his friends nudged him toward Maya's lonely table. "Watch this," he whispered, as if preparing for a show. He leaned over, his voice dripping with mockery. "Hey, new girl, you look thirsty. Want some coffee?" Before Maya could react, the warm liquid spilled down her sweater, staining the pale fabric brown. Gasps erupted from nearby tables, followed by laughter. Tyler's friends slapped the table, howling, while Maya sat frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel hundreds of eyes burning into her, some amused, some pitying, but none brave enough to intervene. Her hands trembled as she dabbed at the mess with napkins, whispering, "It's fine, it's okay," as if trying to convince herself, but inside a storm raged. She had endured worse: mockery, whispers, even isolation at her previous school. But something about the cruel laughter ringing in her ears snapped something deep within her. Still, Maya didn't react. Not yet. She picked up her tray quietly, ignoring the burning coffee soaking through her sleeve, and walked toward the bathroom. Tyler leaned back in his chair, satisfied, soaking in the attention. He didn't notice the small shift in her eyes, a flicker of fire breaking through the fog of shyness. Because Maya had a rule, one her master had drilled into her: Taekwondo is not for showing off. It is for self-control. But if you are pushed too far, defend with honor. And Tyler was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The end of Chapter 1. Hook. She walked into that bathroom as the quiet new girl. But when she returned, she was carrying the spirit of a champion. And the entire cafeteria would never forget what happened next. Maya stood in front of the mirror in the restroom, staring at the brown stains on her sweater. For a moment, she wanted to cry. For a moment, she thought of calling her mom, begging to leave this school like she had before. But then, she remembered the nights of training, the bruises that taught her discipline, the trophies gathering dust on the shelf. She remembered her master's voice. "Courage is not the absence of fear, Maya. Courage is doing what's right, even when your heart is trembling." As she straightened her shoulders, wiped her sleeve, and walked back into the cafeteria, the laughter was still echoing when she returned, but this time she didn't sit down. She walked straight toward Tyler's table. Conversations around the room quieted, students sensing something was different. Maya stood across from him, her voice calm but firm. "Apologize." The cafeteria went silent. Tyler chuckled, leaning back. "What? You gonna cry about it again?" His friends snickered. "Why don't you run back to the bathroom, new girl?" But Maya didn't flinch. She repeated, louder this time, her eyes locked on his. "Apologize." Tyler smirked and stood, towering over her, his chest puffed out. "And what if I don't?" That's when it happened. In one fluid motion, Maya sidestepped his mocking shove, her reflexes faster than anyone could comprehend. She pivoted, her foot snapping upward in a perfectly controlled kick that stopped an inch from his face, so sharp, so precise the wind of it made his hair shift. The cafeteria gasped. Tyler stumbled back, his smirk wiped clean. Before he could recover, Maya's voice cut through the air like steel. This isn't about fighting. This is about respect. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me. Her words hung heavy in the silence. Tyler's bravado crumbled under the weight of the hundreds of eyes now staring, not in laughter but awe. His face flushed. For the first time, he wasn't in control of the room. And then, almost too quietly to be heard, he muttered, "Sorry." Maya nodded once, turned, and walked back to her seat. She didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She simply opened her lunch and began to eat, as if nothing had happened. But something had changed. Students who once looked past her now whispered in admiration. A girl from the soccer team came to sit with her. A boy from math class gave her a high five as he passed by. Even the teachers heard about it by the end of the day. Tyler. He avoided Maya's gaze for weeks. The cafeteria had seen him humbled, not by brute force, but by a girl who carried both strength and grace. Maya never wanted to be a hero, she only wanted peace. But that day, her courage reminded everyone in that cafeteria of something unforgettable. The quietest ones are sometimes the strongest. And respect is not given, it's earned.